Okay, so an overview of the Maamer of Shoshen Purim tavshin Mem Aleph, Shabbos Pashas Tzav, as it was this year. So the shaila is, what's the kesher? Why does he say Layehudim Moishe v'sasam v'simcha only after the ha'ir Shushan tzol v'samecha? And then it says b'chol Medina Medina, and then finally Layehudim Moishe v'simcha v'sasam v'kar. The implication is that it's all totally in the Ir Shushan Tzol V'Samecha, that in Shushan they were rejoicing and exulting. Why is that the critical nakuda from which all the other simcha then devolves or comes? So he answered, the reason is because the Shechina goes together with the Yidin, Golu Le'elam, which is a reference to Shushan, Shechina Yimayim, and since the Shechina is there, therefore it's the Ir Abira. The Ira Bira politically, but Be'ikah, the Ira Bira, that's the main presence of Melech Malkish Alayla. So therefore, the main Giloi is where the Shechina is. And the Shechina is in Shushan, so therefore, it's from there that everything else follows. And explain that even in those places where Yidden are only there to embody Berudim, so that's why they're there, and even it's enough for one Jew to go there. So that all follows the Iker Gili Ashchina, which is in the Irabir in the capital. So therefore, that's where these Galus of Alikus, the Gili of the Eibishter began primarily. That was Beifan Klali. Now Beprotius. Beprotius, he says that the Shoshan is a rose. A rose is red, and it's whitened through fire or warmth. So that thing of Yisapcha Chasheichel and the Hidah. Red goes on Klippi, brings the various Psukim and Esav, and white is Kedusha. So Purim, they went, was his embassy Yisapcha, they went from Nenu, Misedos, Shalesi, Russia, having Hano, Ishtach Vodetzelim, and Avedizora, and then a whole year of Tshuva, turned it all around. Yisapcha Chasheichel and the Hidah. Therefore, Shushan, Shushan, Tzol V'Samecha, answer the question. That's the Ikir, because that brings out the transformation of the red rose to the white rose. And therefore, the rest of the Simcha and all of its dargis, as he said, in the rest of Ishtalshalus, follow thereafter. Clear? The Proteus, he went in that Shushan, is the rose has 13 petals, and that is a reference to Shoshenim, the Lashon Rabbim, Shoshenim Ba'alocha, that you didn't learn. Sorry. First opinion of Shoshenim Halacha. Torah has the 13 midas. But before that, you can remember the Sarachamim, which is the meaning of Tefillah. Okay, the Shoshenim is not the Lashon Rabbim Diyak. It means Pashat Shoin, they learn. That's the Remes for Limud. But the first Remes is the 13 petaled rose, which corresponds to the Givim B'Des Harachamim, which we elicit through Tefillah. And that's hinted to in the Pasuk is Halachti, implying a two-way movement. L'mata l'mayla, that's Tefillah, and l'mayla l'mata Torah. And this was Dafke B'Zman Purim because the singing of Shishana, the two in Yonim, Torah and Tefillah, because Mordechai gathered the Tinoikis in addition to the adults, and was mispalel with them, and also was Isaac in Torah with them. And in Torah Gufa, what was he teaching them? The Korban Akrovas Oimer, which that was the time then, which is right after Pesach, or on Pesach, sorry. Because in the Krovas Oimer, there's both in Yonim, there's the union of bringing Balamata Lamaila, that's the Sa'ir in Michael Behema, and that's the ultimate descent, Rosa the Kurban, Ad Rosa the Insof, Rech Nechech LaHashem, Nachasoch Lafanish, Amati Nasir Tzoini. And then it comes down. Then Tamshach Melamata Lamaila. The word Nachas also implies Chus, which means to shrink or to descend. And this Nachasuach Lafanai, my Tainug Beire, which is incomparable to Tainug Nivre, is drawn down all the way down in a way of Menucha, also implied by the word Nachas, Menucha. And that's the base of Mikdash. This is the place of where I reside, Menucha. That's the Dira to Atzmos, etzem is in a state of tranquility. It's giluyim that are in a state of constant flux, but the etzem is constant. So that's the true menucha. So this is also the avodah of Yidden. This is elicited about the avodah of Yidden. We make this ourselves a shechina, a dira for the Eibishter, in Eretz Yisrael, and Sharatzah Salas is in Koina, and we do so through these two avodas. That's number one. The second beer to explain the significance of Shushan Abir Dafke, and that is, why did Esther ask for another day? If one day was enough, one day is enough, and if one day is not enough, you need 2 days throughout the entire realm as well. Okay, the answer is al Pipshat, but the answer of Chassidus is because it's a different Mulchama. But the Mulchama throughout the realm is Mulchama with Gasus Sara, obvious Sara. But the Mulchama and Shushan Abira is Dakas Sara. And the subtle Ra, because externally things are fine, is much deeper and it's much more difficult Mulchama, and he brings the Rabbi in the Yoina. That's when Osham Toloi, he didn't know, for example, if he ate shuman, which is kosher fat, or chaylev, treifa fat, and it was by accident, but he didn't know which one he ate. If he knew, he brings a korban chatas, and it turns out at the end he does know, he brings a korban chatas. How much does a korban chatas cost? Api halacha. So a korban chatas is a dinka. It's a Persian coin. But as long as he doesn't know, he brings an oshim toloi. And oshim toloi is 2 sloyim, which is 24 times the amount. So explains the Bein Yayna why some pashtas, because he doesn't really have a proper tshuva. Maybe I didn't, so why do I have to get so bent out of shape? So since he doesn't have a deep charot, we force him to pay a lot, and that's going to compel him to really invest in this. But that's indicative that the Dakas Hara requires a much deeper avodah, because it's deeper and it's subtle, and it's 2 things. Elsewhere in Chassidus is explained because it actually comes from a deeper place. A sin, an aveda done b'shogeg is in a way worse than b'mezid. Could be worse, because b'mezid is okay. It's a temporary slip up. He got distracted. He knew what he was doing. It's not indicative of where he is. But shogeg, which wasn't even aware, just did it, just drawn to it. It's indicative that the Ra is deeper within it. It's indicative of his essential state. Not essential, but his deeper state. So it's a deeper cleansing, much more difficult, and therefore the cost is higher. So that's what he's saying, that in Shushan Abira, it doesn't say this in the Maamer, but L'chura, since Dafka Shushan Abira is the place where the Gila Shechina, and that's where the Melech is, so therefore the Aveda is not enough for the Aveda to be just in Pel Mamish and basically externally good, but it has to be Aveda Pnimi as well. And it's demanded by the fact that in Shushan Abira is the Gila Shechina of the Melech. L'chura. Also, they get in the Sinas Koyach, because there's the Shushan Abira, and the Melech is, so yet the Koyach to be able to a deep discussion, to be able to deal with even the Dakas Hara. Concluding, he says, and through this avodah we come to Shoshan Eimek Ayuma, the opening words of the Musaf Chazoras Hashatz. Actually, I think that this is said by Ashkenaz and Mitzrayim. It goes back very early. Rabbi Lezer HaPayot, time of the Gemara, even earlier. I think maybe to look this up. I think even the Tanoim. So it starts off there. The simple pshat is the rose in the valley of Ora. Shoshan Eimek Ayuma, or Iyuma. The Rebbe explains that the Yuma means it's Lashon Toikev. I don't understand that exactly. It means an intense awe. I don't know. But the intensity of Atzmusi is Baruch. And that's
Oiroh.
Yeah, it means awesome. It doesn't mean intense. It means awe. And that means an intense awesome. Intense awe. So I'm suggesting it doesn't mean Toikev per se. Anything can be Toikev. Toikev what? So it could be, like you're saying, Toikev awe that is intense. He says Lashon Toikev. It could mean that it means a kind of awe. Yira is down, but Oiroh is intense. Ulai, I don't know. Maybe if you look up in the source, we get clarity. At any rate, the point being, Elam, selecting it of Ayumba. Elam, we started saying before that Golul Elam, Shchini Moim. This is all the Elam is Shushan, which is the words here, Shoshan, Emek, Ayumba. So Elam is Helen Vehester. So it's Dafk in the Helen Vehester of Golus. He had some brackets where the Baruch Hashem, where here he says, in the place of Archava, Gashmis Baruchni is, and it's up to us. And we're not, in other words, the world, the outside, there's no pressure. But still, Helen Vehester. We're in Golus. And yes, he says in the brackets, by still not for him, meaning us, Likus b'pshitzus, and Vitzias b'yischachus, that Likus is the reality and creation is novel. We don't quite hold at that level. So we're in Golus Cheshach too, even though not like there, Pashit, Gzeira, and so on. But it's in this Elam that this brings out the takeoff of the rose, Ayumba, the takeoff of the connection, the deepest, powerful connection to the Eibishter, Golul Elam Shchinim. Clear? That's the hint. And he concludes, and this is Shushan Sol of Samecha, Layehudim, that through the Yadida in Elam, Helen Vehester, we come to the ultimate Eloi, Yisrael Ben HaCheshech, and came to Yelonu, and we're going to go, and we go from one Gula to the other, from Purim to the Gula Hasidah, which is, it means Pesach, because that's an extension of Pesach, and we'll go with our young and with our old, our sons and our daughters to receive Mashiach. The countenance, Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, we will build Beis Hamikdash B'Mkoim, according to Rambam here, and there we will celebrate the Yom HaShmini LaMiluim, which is the Chodesh Nisan, the 8 Bligvul, the 10 crowns, as we dedicate the Beis Hamikdash and Hera V'Yomeinu Mamish. So that was the Maamer of Shabbos Parshas Tzav. Very feilige verbrengen.